Welcome back.
To the Anatomy of Ancestral Alchemy. We are coming to you talking about a lot of different things today. Can you start us off, Leah?
Sure. This morning, I woke up and realized that Judy had sent me a very interesting TikTok video last week. And I realized that it was actually one I had found on my own, maybe a day before she had sent it to me. And it had to do with the Schumann resonance. And so, for those of you that don't know, the Schumann resonance is essentially a way that the electromagnetic field and the heartbeat of the Earth, of our planet, is quantified, detected, and quantified. And so, there's a range, a scale that they will, I say they because I don't actually know who controls this, so to speak. But there is a way that a group of people can organize and figure out the Schumann resonance and then put it out to the world. So Schumann resonance today is an 8.5 as an example. I don't know what it is today, but that's an example.
And it's resonance, so not residence like a home.
Exactly.
Resonance like a pitchfork, tuning fork.
Exactly.
Resonance.
Frequency.
Frequency,
Yes. Vibration. So last Monday, I woke up and my nervous system was literally like, I woke up and it was shaking. And I was like, what in the world? And a couple days before that, I'd had a few drinks out with friends. And I was like, I don't know, maybe my system's just not tolerating alcohol as well. It's not. But also, why would I feel it a couple days later? And I was like, did I have a nightmare? What is happening to my body? And then a few days later, I stumbled upon the video that you had sent me. And it was a psychic medium who was talking about the Schumann resonance and the way that it had spiked significantly. I believe it was early Monday morning, and that it was inducing panic attack like symptoms in people. And I was like, oh, it just talked about resonance. It clicked for me immediately.
Same thing for me. Because so I had just started my vacation, and usually on vacations or any kind of change in pacing in my life, it's like a transitional period that's hard. I was having intense anxiety or panic. And I just thought it was because I was going on vacation and just shedding a lot of anxiety that I've been carrying. So when I saw it, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And I have slowly been finding over time that my body particularly has patterns that are associated with the Schumann resonance once I start to track it.
Interesting.
And that nervous system vibration is one of them for me, like that. Just like I wake up like shaky. But I'll forget about it. And then something like that will happen on Monday again. And then I'll have another video pop up or something will come into my periphery. And I'm like, oh, I know this. I just keep forgetting that Schumann resonance really impacts me. Another common symptom for people are heart palpitations. So again, if we think about the heart having frequency and that being like the frequency center of our body, along with our nervous system, a lot of people can have an increase in heart palpitations during times of high Schumann resonance factors. That's like the most simplest way I can describe the Schumann resonance. There, I'm sure, are very hard scientists out there that are like, this is bull crap. But when you think about it, it makes so much sense to me that our planet would have a frequency, just being in this world. It's a living planet.
Right. And I think of it like if I go into a room and there's someone in there with a frequency or an emotional quality of high anxiety or anger, it's going to impact me.
Yes.
Because of my electromagnetic field, we all have this. It comes out of our heart center and it goes around to scan our environment.
Yeah.
This is something that, everyone should know. And so if I'm in a space, right, where there's this frequency coming from somebody, I'm going to be impacted. So on a physical level, this is how it is within beings when we're in shared space together.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense that as the creatures that are on this planet, we're also going to be impacted by the resonance or the vibrational quality of the land that we live on. Right.
Yes. That's right.
And then zooming out, this is a thing that I'm only recently learning about astrology because I'm like so desperate for like additional resources to understand what the F is happening.
Yeah.
And you were saying something about the planets.
Yeah. So essentially this year, all of the outer planets are moving into a new zodiac sign. in the same year, all of them in the same year. So Uranus was the last example. Last week, it just moved into the sign of Gemini, and it'll be there for 7 years. So that's actually very rare. I don't know that you and I have ever lived a lifetime where all of the planets have shifted into a new zodiac sign in the same year. So
All the planets?
all the outer planets. So the outer planets are the ones that really, I like to think about them very simply as the way that the ones that most personally affect us. So Uranus, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and Venus. And so they've all changed into a new zodiac sign this year. I think they all have at this point, which is also very quick because that's within the first half of a year, not even like a full span of the year if I have that. So very quick. And so this is what I love about alchemy: as above, so below.
As above, so below. Can you say more?
All the shifting up here, all of the shifting down here.
Yes.
So there's even though we might see it as a polarity, there's also some equilibrium happening. Both are really activated. The sky is very activated right now. The earth is very activated right now. And then we're right in between. We're little conduits blocking this land. Little antennas for both.
Yes. Conduits is powerful. I'm going to sit with that one.
Yeah. So like we're in here, oh my God, the sky is changing, the ground is changing, and then there's catastrophe. So that was the other piece that we landed on right before we hopped on here, where, all of the floods we're seeing right now in the US. I was just seeing on the news this morning that the DC Metro and parts of New Jersey were flooding. And then obviously there was the horrible catastrophe of the Texas flood and the camp there. A lot of lives lost. I think the last death toll was like over 100 people in that flood. So, yeah. A very intense time in general. We're all being asked to shift a lot.
Can I just jump in for a second? So what I'm landing on right now is, how do we shift this? Right. So all of these things are happening. I literally thought I needed to increase my medication because the level of anxiety that I was feeling was like so untenable. So for me, how anxiety presents in my body is my skin starts to crawl, and I literally feel like I need to get out of my body. It's so uncomfortable. And I'm like hyper vigilant about everything. I get really like irritable. And so being able to see, oh, there's something happening planetarily or astrologically or earthbound, was able to give me a pause and go, okay, so maybe what I'm picking up is not something that's wrong with me. It was a good reminder, because it's something I tell myself and my clients when I'm regulated. Okay, nothing wrong with me, nothing wrong with them. What's this data telling me? The data is telling me that I'm picking up on something that's happening around me.
Yes.
Okay. And so when I pick up on something that's happening around me, knowing that there's nothing wrong with me and nothing wrong with them, I create a sense of distance. So it's this third person like observation, like a neutral observer that's like, so if the earth is having a panic attack, which makes sense considering the pressure that we're putting on her, this rise of AI, right? The level of energy that's required to support this tech boom, this transformation, is putting so much pressure on her body, right? Oh, so above, so below. Oh, the pressure that I feel on what I need to do for my kids or my clients to survive this dumpster fire that we're in. Oh, what's this data telling me? For me, how I perceived it was, I need to slow down.
Yeah.
Not so much like I need a vacation. I actually need to relook at everything in my life. These systems that I have been maintaining my entire life, do I need to?
Yeah.
This way of working that I have been taught to do, is that working for me? Is that the right way for my body at this particular time? And so that's what I've been doing, is slowing down and going, does this make sense for me? And I'm really culling. So I'm taking out all the pieces, right, that are not serving me, that are not feeding my soul and enriching my life in ways that are sustainable. So I sometimes when I feel into it, it's like when I imagine myself doing this, do I feel excited or do I feel heavy and bogged down like I'm carrying a burden?
Yeah.
And those burdens are the things that I'm really unpacking right now.
I love what you just shared because it also speaks to another major astrological transit that is starting this weekend, which is Mars retrograde in the sign of Leo. So retrogrades always ask us to slow down and reflect. And so we are actually in the shadow period, right? So what's interesting is that at the time there's all this shifting happening, there's also a planet literally moving backwards in the sky that is, hold up. While all this is happening and around, sit and listen and reflect and don't act. This is not the time to act.
Well, that's helpful information.
Yes. Retrogrades they're things we have to do, right? We're still human and life still happens. But in general, no big decisions, no massive planning. This is the time to collect the data that you need to then make your next steps. And so we can take that very personally, and we can also take that communally. Yeah.
Can you say more? When you said communally, you had this knowing look. I want to know more.
Like bigger organizing around activism.
Yeah.
And activism very broadly, right? How are we taking care of community? Yeah.
I'm going to go off this riff a second. So I was in Western Mass last week, trying to just allow my body to feel a different pacing, right? So it's a lot slower than where I live. And I was able to meet some friends, and they were describing to me and my kids their way of living. So they live off grid, no electricity or limited electricity, no running water, compost toilets. So really down to the minimum. And they're glowing, right? That one person is like gardening and most of their food is coming from the garden, and it takes a lot of care and tending to, and there's this sense of purpose and meaning and this reciprocity, right? And they were on their way, so lovingly created time and space for me and my kids to connect before they went on this trip to learn how to install solar panels, okay? And so the community that they're tapped into, this person who coordinates these like learning opportunities doesn't charge. So the assumption is you're going to camp on this land, we're going to help a community member install solar panels, and at the same time you're going to learn the skill, but you're going to provide the labor. And the expectation is that we all take care of each other. So it's like a potluck.
Yeah.
And they were describing this, and I was like, oh my God, this sounds exactly like what I want, what I'm called, like my soul is living for. And I tap into my kids, and they're like, there's no electricity. What? Like, how? And it was just like this sense of, oh my God, if I could gift that to them, this experience of what it feels like to be off grid. That phrase in and of itself, like when I think about the pressure of modern day society and the toll on the nervous system and the body, this longing to be off grid, out of the flow that is so freaking fast, there's a sense of desperation for it.
Yeah.
So I was just grateful for the opportunity of someone sharing the way that they live as something to consider, because I wouldn't know how to do it. I would need community to show me. And so I could learn from their nervous systems on how to resource one another in this way that has been lost to us.
Yeah.
Like it was the indigenous way.
Yeah. Yeah.
When we lived off the land in relationship to Mother Earth, stewards knew how to do this.
Yes. What did you notice in your body as you were sharing your experience just now?
It was a lightning, like that. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Because something that they talked about, like how they met, was through learning how to tan hides. And this is the part that was like, you have to do what? So every animal has enough tannin in their brain to tan their hide, their skin.
Interesting.
And so they took this class And that's how they tapped into this community, because it's just like people sharing ways of living and creating things. And so it's learning how to tan the skin of an animal by severing the skull and using the brain to tan the hide.
Fascinating.
And I was like, this sense of knowing what to do with every single part of an animal.
Yeah.
Reconnecting to the wisdom of earth medicine. Like, it gives me this sense of, I want to learn, right? This sense of like excitement of, I would feel so much purpose, I think, if I could learn from the wisdom of the land. Because it's sheer perfection. When I look at how everything works together, it is sheer perfection, but not in the white supremacy way of just like everything fits together. There's a reason why every animal, plant, creature is here.
Yeah.
We all fit somehow. And knowing that feels very comforting and exciting at the same time.
Yeah, it's interesting to see how inspiration shows up in the body. Like I noticed you looking out more, definitely smiling more as you're talking about it. Yeah. I'm so grateful that you got to have that experience and that your kids did too.
It was interesting. I forbade electronics. And I remember I had this moment of, do I want to fight this battle? Do I want, because I needed a break. And the functional adult in me was like, yes, you do need to fight this battle. So I took electronics from all of us. And we did watercolor painting. We explored a little bit each day. I tended to the garden that was outside, and I made us fresh foods. And my youngest, who's very anxious, said at the end of the week, this is the best vacation. And I said, really? Say more, because she's the one who's most addicted to electronics. She goes, no, it just felt so slow. And so had to have so much time. And my oldest read 4 books. And my youngest started reading, and it's something that's always been a challenge for her to be able to sit and focus. She was halfway through her book. And I was just like, yeah, this could be, if we are able to disconnect from all this like consumption and pace, right? Look at what happens when you allow your body its natural rhythm. It was so sweet, because that trip cost me nothing.
Yeah.
It was a house swap. Talk about community mutual aid.
Yeah.
You know, the owners of the house needed cat sitting, and I was like, I'll do it. I need a vacation. And so we swapped, and I didn't have to pay for the room.
Perfect.
It was beyond perfect. It was a gift.
Yeah. I feel like something that's been happening in my life that connects to what you shared as well is I've been doing some ancestral work on my paternal side. And there was a section of my ancestors that we were working with the other day, and what showed up, I don't know if this was quite literal, but it's the way that my mind was making sense of the information coming through, was Industrial Revolution and my ancestors in England that were moving through that time period. And for me, witnessing the sections of my ancestors coming through before, up until that point, that was a significant turning point culturally for nervous systems. And I could feel it when we landed on it. It was monumental. And I really saw the divide of people like working on new technologies and still tending to the land. And it was really interesting how it was feeling in my nervous system. It was feeling very activated. What I would describe as like very visceral anxiety, right? It wasn't thought loop anxiety, but it was very visceral intensity in my body in a different way than it was showing up with earlier groups of ancestors that were coming through that may have had significant tragedy. This was a very different energy.
Yes.
And
Where do you feel it in your body?
For me, that when I was experiencing that group of my ancestors, I was feeling it a lot through my limbs, like my arms and my legs primarily. And I think that was because of like the information that was coming through was that in some ways there was different movement that was happening literally for bodies at that period of time. There was like more of my ancestors weren't tending to their own land at that point. So there was probably an introduction to like more sitting, or still probably a lot more movement than what we would consider these days, but different than my ancestors hundreds of years before that were literally had to farm to survive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that was very interesting to feel. And the other thing that came through with that group of ancestors was physical illness. Yeah. And that being very closely tied to the Industrial Revolution, the energy of that.
Like from the pollution of it, or the...
I think more just like the unbalanced
Yes.
energy.
Interesting. So when I feel into it, can I give a little...
Yeah.
I feel pressure back here when I feel into what you're saying.
Yeah.
It's like almost like this cognitive dissonance, or like
Yes.
trying to understand or wrap my mind around like the change. And what I understand about the Industrial Revolution is it could have been an opportunity to slow things down. If we were to center the needs of the laborers,
Yep.
or the larger global population, the majority, it could have been used to slow it down to increase the satisfaction and well-being of the population, like the global majority.
Yep.
But instead it was used to just benefit the small percentage.
Yes.
And so it just put more pressure on the speeding up, is what I feel into when you're saying I feel that energy in my arms and legs.
Yep. Yeah, I think you're spot on. And something else that did come through was the sense of there really being a socioeconomic divide. And that had happened throughout other layers of ancestry on that side, but this was very significant. I saw these lavish parties, and yeah, it was very interesting. I think why it's also important to mention that is we're in a very similar energy now.
Yes.
If we think about the tech boom, AI, robots, right? This is a very similar phenomenon to the Industrial Revolution.
Right.
And so to Judy's point, like, how are we slowing down and reflecting? Because we're in one of those big booms right now. Yeah.
And the honest is no one's slowing down.
Some of us are trying. Some of us are really trying.
It's interesting because I'm trying to, I've hired help, right? And one of the tools is AI. And so I noticed this like push-pull of using the stuff that it can help with, and also like having this intense resistance to it.
Yep.
Yeah, and just tapping into, I think, how maybe the ancestors in my lineage, the divide started to happen in different ways, because every choice leads you closer to one thing and further away from another.
Yeah, true.
So just noticing that. As I choose to heal more, I gain more distance from those who don't want that.
Yeah.
Who are unwilling to look at the truth and reconcile the data. There's this sense of grief.
Yeah. And that brings me back to the second part of the alchemical principle, which is as within, so without. So as above, so below, as within, so without. So this idea that what is outside of us also lives within, and what is within us also lives outside of us.
Yes.
That also speaks to shadow work. A lot of what we've talked about here before, and also Judy's point around continuing to monitor like how our nervous systems are being affected, how our bodies are being affected by all of these monumental shifts and these leaps. And time is literally accelerating as well.
Yes.
In a lot of ways. I can't tell you how many people in my life have been like, time just feels like it's moving so fast right now. I don't understand. It's like I can't catch a breath. And I'm like, it's almost like quantum physics would say it's almost like we're quantum leaping.
Yes.
Whether or not we think about that metaphorically or literally, it's like a lot is happening. And so, yeah, how are we slowing down? How are we listening? How are we asking ourselves what we need, whether it is legitimately an increase in medication or some other medicine that would benefit us? Getting away for a week, right? Living off the grid. Yeah.
I think though, what I'll just speak for myself, intentionality has been really important.
Yes.
So not just avoiding the shift that's happening, but really going, I'm going to work with this energy. I'm going to try to figure out what's happening so I can stay in the flow of it. Okay. So when I imagine, so my belly is gurgling. So it means I'm on the right track.
Mhm.
And it's basically when I'm feeling overwhelmed, rather than try to like grip and control and understand what's happening, what I actually need to do, what benefits my body the most, is when I relax and just go, okay, so let's see what's happening in the overwhelm. And then I just go into third person and just observe and literally take out things that are going to add more confusion.
Yeah.
So what I did for me and my kids on our vacation was I intentionally took out technology. I took out complications in our schedule. I took out a need for any kind of exploration to prove that I was on vacation. I just took all of these pressures out to just create space to just see what was happening within. And I think that was really important rather than an avoidance of it, if that makes any sense.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm all for leaning in. I think it's really important. And what's interesting is sometimes we need to lean out to lean in. So again, I think about your time away that way. I had to separate, I had to remove myself to some degree to actually be able to lean in. Yeah.
Right,
And
right.
I do think that we need that at times, or just need a different environment, period.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah. Energetically, one way I'd like to practice this for those of you watching, if this is helpful, is I like to check in with my arc field and figure out where it is. What I oftentimes notice is that when I'm really activated by something, my arc field is actually like way out and mingling.
Can you say what an auric field is?
Yeah. So if we think about the Schumann resonance, right?
The
Our-
circle.
Yeah, our arc field is kind of similar. I think about it in a similar way. Like it's our frequency resonance and where it is outside of our body, right? So oftentimes you'll see these pictures of people in their arc fields and they're like this nice little bubble, cocoon bubble. But oftentimes, like when we are really, I really consider myself a spiritual empath. And so for me, one of the practices has been having to call back in my arc field
Interesting.
because it has been so enmeshed with the rest of the world and other people. And that took a lot of time and practice because for me, I was worried it would mean I wouldn't be as empathic or compassionate.
Interesting.
But what happened is it actually was causing me to feel just as distressed. And then I actually couldn't center the people or the person that things were happening to, right? Because then I became them, right? I became a distressed, frantic person. And so this still happens sometimes. And so what I have to do, there's two things. I call all parts of myself back.
You literally say that?
Internally, calling all parts of myself to be back in this present moment with me now. Any parts throughout my day, my week, whatever the time frame is that I feel like things have been scattered. And then I check in with my arc field. Where's my arc field?
Interesting.
And what I'll notice is like sometimes it'll be hovering over people, might be hovering over a client that I'm sitting with or around them. It might be all over the world. And this is just a visualization for me, right? I often have my eyes closed and I'm just like, yeah, let me imagine where my arc field is right now. And then if I'm noticing that it's out there and not as contained, I'll call it back in, right? So I'll reset that boundary. Those of you that have guides you work with, you can also ask them to support you in that. Tidy up your auric field, clear any debris up that needs to be cleared up. And then the reason I'm sharing this is because it's connecting to Judy's zooming out perspective, right? This is my way of spiritually and empathically zooming out, right? If I call all of that back in to be within my container, then I can actually zoom out and I can hold much better space.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting. It's like differentiation.
Yeah. But it's not causing me to be less empathic or compassionate. That was a big lesson for me.
Because it's staying stuck in that expansiveness. So whenever I talk about zooming out and then zooming in, it's really important to zoom back in. Because our physical bodies are here for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
The particular way my brain works, the particular family that I landed in, the particular thing that lights me up and inspires me is there for a reason.
Yeah.
Everyone is here on this planet for a reason. Not to work for a company, not to X one. It's something bigger, right?
Yeah.
And so to be able to zoom out and feel into the collective and then come back into yourself this constant ebb and flow, right? This constant reaching and then contraction, that inside out, or what is above and below and what is within and without. It's like that constant is living.
Yeah.
It's like this heart palpitation of this beat, this
Yep.
heartbeat. And so being able to feel into that wisdom of Mother Nature and understand that we are a part of that too. And again, how do you view what's happening in your body as just data to help guide what the next step is?
Yeah.
It's a good reminder for me. I tend to stay expansive when I'm feeling most lonely.
Yeah. And that makes sense, right? It's like your energetic field reaching. Yeah. 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 And I think I tend to feel the most expansive whenever there's some unhealthy, for me, unhealthy, like saviorist stuff coming in.
Same.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, nope, that's not mine to fix. Can be supportive, but it's not mine to fix. Yeah. I love this. It's a good conversation. So, what is our alchemy for this one?
I think you said it.
Did I?
I can't remember what it was. It's really good.
Thank you. I know I touched on the as above, so below, as within, so without. Yeah, I think remembering that we are a mirror
Yes.
for everything. And so, what is it that we're reflecting on? Yeah.
And so a mirror or a fractal. The
Mhm.
fractal is you get the same design, that same configuration in that small piece. Can I read the
Yeah,
poem?
please.
Andrea
Beautiful.
Gibson passed away, and they are an incredible poet. And I read this to my cycle breaker group today. I'm going to read it here again, if that's okay. I'm never going to wait that extra 20 minutes to text you back. And I'm never going to play hard to get when I know your life has been hard enough already. When we all know everyone's life has been hard enough already. It's hard to watch the game we make of love, like everyone's playing checkers with their scars, saying checkmate whenever they get out without a broken heart. Just to be clear, I don't want to get out without a broken heart. I intend to leave this life so shattered there's going to have to be 1,000 separate heavens for all of my flying parts.
Can you read that last line or last stanza?
Just to be clear, I don't want to get out without a broken heart. I intend to leave this life so shattered there's going to have to be 1,000 separate heavens for all of my flying parts.
Thank you.
It's this image, right? 2021, Andrea got the diagnosis terminal cancer and has been documenting and living, knowing their life is coming to an end soon. And these words have been such an orienting way for me because we're all dying. We all have limited time on this planet. How do you want to live it, basically?
Yeah.
And what's interesting to me, one of the images that came out of my cycle breaker group today was someone was mourning a loss of someone significant. And I guided them through this visualization of being able to thank that person, their essence, their spirit for that time that they shared together. And the grief was so intense that the cycle breaker was like, I just feel so shattered. Like Andrea's language too, so shattered, open, right? This in the matrix, like this, like glass that just shatters, right? And slows down. And I said, I want you to imagine taking one bit from that person who left the physical planet, but it's still there because energy never goes away. And I want you to take it in to you. And I want you to take one bit of you and put it into them. And then allow yourself to come back together again, changed forever. That's the image that I leave today on our call, or not our call, whatever this is. This constant opening, expansion, and constriction, this feeling out and then coming back home, right? This living, right, that we're doing every single day to remind yourself you are changed whenever you connect with others, and they are changed whenever you connect with them. And there's no more important thing than to live in a way that feels expansive and authentic. And when I say no other way, that's not true. There's so many different ways. But for me, that's what's important to me. Is this way of living shattered?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank goodness for those of us that do feel shattered, honestly. Yeah. Yeah, we need to feel the heartbreak in order to know how to heal.
So that it doesn't keep repeating.
Yeah. And to continue to be in the dance of giving and receiving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Please, if you liked this podcast episode, share and like and subscribe. And we will see you soon.
Please and thank you.
Bye.